So Natalie, can you maybe give us a couple like handful of examples? Like let's say you're investing in real estate. What are some kind of like pitfalls or some things that people tend to do that you see if there's some out there? I know everyone's tax this is like the
Yeah.
standard
Right.
answers. Everyone's different. We get
Yep.
that. But let's say like what's something you see quite a bit that you think people could potentially save on?
Yeah, there's a few things that are sort of the key things we see missed a lot or where we're like, oh, that could have been done better. A big one is anything to do with your depreciation, which is when you buy an asset that's going to earn you money over a bunch of years, you get to write off the cost of that asset across a bunch of years. But here's the cool thing. It's like if anyone who's bought real estate knows if you bought that $300,000 house, you probably didn't literally write them a check for 300,000. Sometimes you do, but typically all you put was, 5% down, 10%, 20% down maybe. So most of that is financed. You haven't even paid for yet, and the IRS is going to let you write off part of that cost now. Like that's awesome. So with anything related to your depreciation, you want to make sure it's done as correctly, but also kind of as aggressively as possible. So a biggest sort of upfront tip is when you buy a property, you only get to depreciate the building value, not land, and you bought both. Land in theory doesn't depreciate unless you're on certain coasts and then it falls in the ocean, but typically it just stays there forever, right? So when you buy a property, you get to use a reasonable method to figure out what portion is the building value and what portion is land. There's a few different ways you can do that. Some accountants, unfortunately, will default to just like an 80-20 rule, and that's not cool. That doesn't work really. But what you can do is look at the county assessor and don't use their exact figures because as we know that they're often super off from what actual like values are, but use their same ratio. So if they have, 74% of the total is building and the rest is land, like you can use that same ratio, but you can also use your appraisal if your appraisal gives a land value. So something I see not even considered is look at both, because one might get you a significantly higher building value, which is going to result in a significantly larger annual write-off than the other, and you're allowed to use either. So it's just things like that, like kind of these little extra strategies that really snowball and add up to giving you the maximum savings.